Hey guys, it's a perfect day for a ride, and I have been so excited to check out these new DŌST bikes. This is the Drop. Comes in two colors. We've got white and black. We got the KOPE over here, and I can kind of remember these because the Drop has that kind of drop bar step-through design. This company is really caught my attention, and it seems like it's caught the attention of a lot of people because apparently they've already sold through most of their pre-orders for 2020. I can totally see why. The price point on this, $27.99, okay, and that's with the standard single battery. $6.99 extra, you get that second battery up to 1,200 watt hours of capacity. I mean, that is incredible. That's really going to take you far. They estimate with the double battery setup, you could get all the way up to like 120 miles. And part of that's because it's got this mid-drive motor, 750 watt. This is the Bafang BBS02. Puts out up to 120 Newton meters of peak torque, 750 to 1,000 watts. That's kind of how this thing is rated. 750 is like the top in North America. So you're getting a really powerful, really effective motor with a 9-speed drivetrain. Shimano Altus is 11 to 36. So you've gotten an excellent spread on that cassette, a decent derailleur. It's a couple steps up from the base level in the Shimano group set. Really nice looking derailleur. And you'll notice there's this extra box thing right here. I'm not used to seeing those, and what that is an inline shift detection sensor. So anytime you're shifting gears, it physically stops the motor so that you're not taking all of that power and that force and mashing your chain and potentially bending those sprockets and stuff. So really, really well done. This is awesome. I just so rarely do I see that. Bosch is one of the only other companies that kind of has this shift detection built in, and theirs is more software driven. This is physically driven. So when I'm riding later, you should be able to kind of see and hear when I shift gears, the motor completely cuts out, and that's a huge deal. Now this bike, I mean, it's got all the bases covered in my opinion, in part because it's class 3. It can go all the way up to 28 miles per hour, 45 kilometers per hour. You can also dial that down using the display. It could be 20 mile per hour, class 2. And part of the reason it would be class 2 is because it has a throttle. The throttle gives you full assist override in the 1 through 5 assist level. There is 0, so you can just use the lights. This thing has integrated lights, 80 lux on this Ascendo headlight. It's got 2 beams right there, really nicely. Nice choice right there. Same thing back here, Lineo. It has 2 LEDs. So many times I'll see like a rear light, but sometimes it's like run off AA batteries or something like that. This one is not. It's integrated. It runs off your main battery supply. And because it has 2 LEDs, you're just going to be a little bit more visible. There's these nice light pipes and stuff. I'll turn that on later. Really great fenders. These are plastic, and you'll notice that the mounting hardware is sort of inside the fender, just very clean. The front fender here, you'll notice they've chosen a suspension fork that actually has hardware threads, so you don't have those like sliding plastic cuffs that can get bumped out of position. So I feel like this is going to be really durable over time. Color matched fork. Okay, see, it's like white and white, but it's not just the paint, it's actually the decals. So you can see the silver matches the accent. Same thing over here. They've got this nice bronze look, and again, because you know they're selling through some of these units, we're using a mix of production and then sort of their pre-production models, which didn't quite have all the colors set up perfectly, including over here. See how this is like a lighter silver? They ended up going with that nice bronze look. Okay, but otherwise these bikes they're basically stock. They're ready to go, and they're tons of fun. Just a lot of power. So many times people are like, I wish I could go a little bit further. You know, how much more battery capacity do I need? How much is that going to cost me? So like Riesenmuller is a company that they were one of the first that would have like multiple battery pack options, but they're really expensive, and you had to pay for the kit like at time of purchase. That is not the case here. Mounting this second battery is super easy. There's just this track, 3 bolts, and then the battery pack right there, and it just plugs in down here, and everything on this is IP65 rated, so that's pretty good. This is what it looks like without, and again, this is not the final bolt pattern. They have 2 and then 1 more at the top, and they're spaced so that you could actually use this with water bottle cage or maybe a folding lock or something. So there's just so many possibilities. I love that the primary battery is integrated into the frame, and they've got this nice plastic protective shield. It's not super proprietary. Yeah, it's not color match, but that makes it cheaper. It keeps the price down. Again, $27.99 USD, 2-year comprehensive warranty. This is kind of a new company. You might not have heard of them, to me, they have a little bit more trust. It's a company I'm excited about because I've seen some of the team members working at other companies since like, I don't know, the past 5 or 6 years, and worked in the industry and stuff. So I kind of got connected to these guys through word of mouth, and I thought it was a really exciting bike. And you can see that they've got all these cool accessories like this side mirror, little cup holder in case you've got that second battery taking that space up right there. You got the cup holder there. These awesome branded reflective bags. So this is a trunk bag with a little bottle holster on the back, and then a pannier. Well, you can have 2 panniers and a trunk bag, and they designed it so that, see, with this hanger, it allows you to have a bag on top. So they've got these slats right here. This rack is rated up to 100 pounds. That's awesome. So many times these are just rated to like 55 pounds. The bike itself is rated up to 300 pounds. So if you're a larger rider, this is going to be a good option because it has power, it has battery capacity, it has just a lot of good options. It's approachable. And then if you want the stiffer, you know, slightly more masculine looking frame, you go up here to the KOPE. But for me, the Drop is a really exciting bike. Of course, they also have the suspension seat post option. The fork that it comes with is 100 millimeters of travel, SR Suntour XCT. It does have preload adjust, so you can preload that spring if you are carrying a lot of weight or you weigh a little bit more, and that way you're not losing travel right off the bat. You preload it. And then over here we have hydraulic lockout, and it's also compression adjust. So, you know, the further you turn it, the more firm it's going to get until it completely locks out. And lockout is nice if you're on maybe like a paved surface. This is a really nice surface here for the review and the kind of riding I like to do, just go up to the mountains or the forest or whatever, but it's not super extreme. This is not actually like mountain biking terrain. The tire choice here is another area that I was really excited about. They've got the Schwalbe Super Moto-X tires, and these things have performance line green guards, so there is some puncture protection, and that's nice because changing flats on an e-bike is not a lot of fun. These are 27.5 by 2.4, so they're not plus size tires, but they are wider than a lot of traditional tires that are just, you know, 2.125 or 2.25, something like this. So it's a little bit wider. It's going to give you some more stability and additional volume, which adds comfort in addition to that suspension fork. We've got this nice reflective sidewall stripe. Look at the black spokes, the black rim, the black hub right there. I mean, it's really well done. And we've got quick release front and rear. This is just standard quick release hardware, 9mm, 10mm in the back. That's one of the benefits of a mid-drive. The rest of the bike is kind of traditional bike. You don't have like a hub motor that if something happens or the spokes get bent or something, on this bike you can just replace the wheel, you can replace the tires, you can replace the derailleur. It's really the weight, and the e-bike technology is right there where you want it, low and center on the frame. So that's cool. They also went with a slightly wider, or maybe more like mountain bike style seat post dimension. So this is 340 by 31.6mm, and you know, you can always use shims to fit like a narrower suspension seat post, whether it's this or maybe you've got like a thud buster or the Connect body float kind of thing, and they've actually used a shim right here. So I feel like this gives you more options. Little things like that, little things like the kickstand. You'll notice where it's mounted, you're not going to get pedal lock. It's mounted kind of on the inside. It's not hanging out, so you're going to get heel strikes. And they actually have tool-free length adjust on this, which is just awesome because sometimes, you know, you're on an angle and you don't want your bike to tip over, and so you can extend it. Other times the angle's the other direction. You can bring it up all without using a tool. And it's delightful for me to see this kind of technology. And then of course we have hydraulic disc brakes. These are Tektros. Right down here you can see the 180mm rotors. That's excellent. That is just the kind of size that you want for a somewhat heavier bike. This is 64.9 pounds for the Drop. The KOPE is 65.2. So, you know, it's just a 0.3 pound difference. This is slightly lighter, which is interesting to see. A lot of times step-throughs are just, you know, they're burlier because you have to have this extra frame reinforcement stuff right here, like gussets. But I guess they use the same down tube, so you're really just losing that top bar, and the frame does feel very stiff. It's a very capable bike. Again, the people behind this company, they have a background in like mountain biking and stuff, and so a lot of the hardware on this bike is kind of overkill. It's not necessarily, you don't need it for like the neighborhood kind of stuff, but it's going to help you on a little bit of light trail and maybe some actual off-roading. This bike I'd feel more comfortable on than a lot of other ones. You can see that here with the locking grips, but then they have the removable end cap, so you can have that mirror option, stuff like that. Adjustable reach on those hydraulic disc brakes, 3-finger levers. So the adjustable reach means maybe you're someone with shorter hands or using gloves or something, you can kind of dial that in and have a really comfortable fit. Those 180 millimeter rotors, again, just gives you a good mechanical advantage, which is nice given that these are slightly, you know, bigger wheel sizes, 27.5, and a little bit heavier tires. Down here at the pedals, this is something I call out a lot. These are the Welgo platform aluminum alloy pedals. They give you lots of good traction. They feel solid. They're not going to like feel bendy or anything. This is quality stuff right here. And then you can see the Bafang labeling right here, but otherwise the motor is kind of hidden and protected inside this housing. That's really cool. There are BBS02 kits that you can use on a traditional bicycle, but it's a lot more exposed. It doesn't look nearly this nice, and then you wouldn't have this internal battery in most cases. That's an e-bike specific frame. A lot of internal cable routing, nice wraps going on up here. It's not too cluttered, especially because, you know, there are a lot of wires up here. You got the display, you got the throttle, and then you have motor inhibitors, you've got shifter cable, and you've got both of the brake lines, and they're all really well concealed in that fabric housing. And then down here, they are a little bit external right here, and that's because of the way that this motor is set up. So this motor uses a 24 magnet sensor. It's right there. It's actually inside the motor, so it's very well protected. A lot of times I'm seeing 12 magnet sensors that are a little bit more external. Some of them are sealed, but they're still, you can see them physically on the outside of the bike. In this case, they're inside, really well protected, very high resolution. And then over here, and this might be the best way to see it, there's the sensor for rear wheel speed. That's going to be an important measurement. So it is measuring mainly like that cadence and speed. You don't have as much torque going on, which is why it's nice to have a shift detection. And that's part of, you know, one of the trade-offs that keeps us a little cheaper than something like, you know, Bosch or Brose. So it's really, this is a proven and kind of a classic kit motor that a lot of people have done in the past, and they've taken it to the next level. That's how I feel. Look at this custom chain cover, very minimal. Aluminum alloy, powder coated, really well done. So if you're wearing pants like I am, you're not going to get grease and snags and stuff. I appreciate that. Look at the decals and stuff, really nicely done. It's fairly tasteful, and the color combination here, this is very custom. Like, this didn't just happen. They didn't just take a frame and, you know, they designed this frame, right? And they painted it to look great and to match the stickers. I like everything on this bike. I'm afraid I'm gonna miss stuff because there's so much to call out. Aluminum alloy, kind of a bash guard on that steel chain ring, and that's gonna protect the bottom bracket a little bit. And again, it just works with that nice chain cover, stuff like that. We do have, in addition to the pannier hanger, we do have like a little, maybe like a bungee clasp, or that works with a lot of panniers so that they don't slide around as much or flap out while you're riding. I feel like they're really well protected. And then this saddle, it's a very comfortable saddle. It even has branding, and there's this little handle in the back, so if you're lifting the bike up and maneuvering it, you totally can. So I love that you can remove the battery, but I like that you don't have to. You know, a lot of times it's a little bit of a hassle to get down here and, you know, open that up, and you got to come over here and use the key and take it out. That battery, it weighs like 8.5 pounds. So it would be nice to take that out if you're putting the bike on the back of your car rack or lifting it. And maybe if you live in a really cold environment, or extremely hot environments are actually hard on the lithium ion batteries. So that might be a good reason to take out. But a lot of times you might just want to leave it in. And I really appreciate that they put the charging port on the drivetrain side of the bike. This is the side of the bike that you don't want to tip. This is the vulnerable side of the bike. And so having everything accessible and high up versus way down here, that's another, it's a little thing, but over time, these little things kind of add up. You start to notice them. Now back to some of the hardware. Adjustable angle stem, 100 millimeters. You can raise this way up and have the Dutch upright body position, or forward and have like for longer reach. Maybe you're a taller person, and that gives you a more comfortable ride feel, or more aerodynamic. We've got several spacers down here, and this stem actually, even though there's a single bolt, a lot of times I'm telling people, like, be careful, make sure it stays tight, because over time it can strip and then you get slop in those adjustable stems. Not this one. There's actually a core that slides out, and it has teeth going pretty deep. It's not just clamped on from the side, it's actually teeth that slide in like this. So even though it's a single bolt design, this is Ergotech 5, and it's rated, it's kind of like their higher end, more sturdy hardware, and I appreciate that. That's another thing that's easy to overlook on a bike that's just using kind of basic parts. So let's see, I think we got covered a lot of stuff on these bikes. I want to talk about the display, but I don't want to miss anything. One of the things that I should complain about here is that you'll notice there's the charging port for the main battery, and then on the other side there's a charging port for that additional battery pack there. Again, this is 48 volts, 11 amp hours, 48 volts, 14 amp hours, so 25 amp hours combined. But see, they're on different sides, and you actually have to charge them separately. It's not like you just plug in one place and have it charge everything. That's an area where like the Bosch system is really, you know, killing it, doing a great job with that, but it's a lot more expensive. You can actually discharge these evenly together if you just turn on that second pack and then the controller drains them together, or you can leave it off and then it will just focus on that first battery. So I thought that was kind of neat. You got a few different options, and the way this is set up, the battery actually tips from the side, and that's cool because it allows you to have these you know, slightly lower top tubes that are sloped on the KOPE over here. So that's why they did that, and rather than batteries that kind of come up, these ones slide off to this side. So okay, coming back to the bike, yeah, maybe I'll turn this thing on here. We just hold the power button for a second here. It says DŌST, and it is adjustable angle. You can reduce the glare a little bit. Down here we've got a USB port. Gotta love that. Definitely nice. Again, you've got all this power, you might as well put it to use. We've got battery percentage in the top right instead of just like bars or ticks. A clock. We've got a speedometer in the middle and a watt meter on the outside of it. So it's a nice looking display. Trip distance, mode, we're in 0 right now, and again, the throttle's not going to work in 0. And then eco. And one thing I noticed before I get into all the other stuff is if you hold the plus button, it goes from eco to sport, and things change to red instead of green. That doesn't actually do anything. That's because this display can be used with torque sensing motors. We don't have a torque sensing motor. This is cadence sensing, so keep that in mind. So coming back to the display, I'm just going to turn it back to eco. That was the default. You can press the plus button. It's pretty clicky, pretty satisfying. All the way up to 5, that's the highest level of assist. But again, if we were down in 3 or 2, just to be economical, you can always get 5 level support by juicing that throttle. I like that. And it is on the left, not on the right. You could migrate it, but then the throttle will be kind of pointing up and you'd have to push forward instead of down. And a lot of times they choose those trigger throttles because if you look at this trigger shifter housing, it's got the nice little readout there, and basically that would collide with the housing of the throttle. We got the brake lever, we got the trigger shifters. This is a one-way high trigger and then a multi-shift low trigger. So it's a decent setup. I'd appreciate if it was a two-way high lever, not the end of the world. It's neat to me that they do have enough room for this optional branded cup holder over here. And again, if the throttle was over there, it wouldn't work. So let's see what else we got here. If you hold the minus button and you're in any of those assist levels, I think we get walk mode. There we go. Could be very nice if you find yourself in a crowded environment, or maybe just a hill that's too steep and feeling precarious. Gotta love that. We have a dedicated light button, and watch what happens when I press this. I hold it for a second and the display actually dims, which is so nice because a lot of times you'll be riding at night and you don't want to be losing your night vision because of a super bright display. So that's a very smart feature. Here's the headlight there. Very nice. Again, 80 lux. We don't have like side windows on it or anything, but given that there are 2 beams and there's a wider surface, I think this is a pretty decent choice. Then we come to the back. We also don't have as much side visibility, but as soon as you peek out a little bit, we've got those light pipes and 2 LEDs. I think this is physically really well protected by the rack, and it's not covered by the panniers or the trunk bag, so pretty good job on that. Again, safety, the reflective sidewall stripes and everything, especially if you get the black frame. That's important to me, something I think about. And then we've got this little I button down at the bottom. I'm gonna turn off the lights so we get our bright display back. If I press I, we get, from trip meter, we get odometer, max speed, average speed, range estimate. That's so cool. So as you're changing assist levels, you're getting dynamic feedback. You don't want to be caught out there with like a 65-pound bike, even though these are efficient tires and you lock out that suspension. It's just, it could be no fun. So nice to have battery percentage and range, like so good. If we press I again, we get calories burned. It's kind of an estimate. It's a ride time, trip distance, odometer, and we just see it circles all the way back around. If you double tap I, there's even more settings in here. So that's what I was talking about. You can actually dial in the top speed on these. You could take it down to 20. You could completely remove that throttle and turn this into a class 1 electric bike. It's just one of the only bikes that has a dual battery option at this price point and a nice mid-drive with a throttle and a speed pedal. Like, I just feel like they've checked all the boxes, and then they let you decide what kind of experience you actually want to have. So I think that's pretty much it. I just want to walk around this again. There's so much to appreciate. I mean, just the positioning of the charging port and the rack choice that they've chosen. I didn't love that, like, this bottom bar is not quite straight, and maybe it's the pre-production bike situation going on here. That's just what they had at their warehouse. And I was so happy that they had all the different kind of the color schemes and stuff. It's nice to be able to choose that and have something that's bright, or maybe a his and hers kind of a setup. Got some looky-loos going on over here. And I can see why. Again, I just feel like they've done a great job with this. So I'm gonna hop on and we'll give the drop a little ride and enjoy the afternoon here. Okay, so I raised the saddle a little bit, and I've had a couple requests recently to pedal unassisted. So I'm taking it all the way down to 0. I'm in kind of a medium gear. I'm just gonna shove off, you know, it's working okay. Those efficient tires really help. Feels pretty stable. You notice there's a little bit of weight here, and this does not include that additional battery either. As soon as I click the 1, got a little bit of juice. Let's take it all the way up to 5, my favorite. And it's very noticeable, very satisfying to ride at that higher power level. Oh, we got some friendly critters. Oh yeah, I mean, it has some get up and go. Definitely has some get up and go. Let's try that throttle here. Now the throttle does cut out at 32 kilometers per hour, roughly 20 miles per hour. Doing the no hand thing at kind of a high speed, and I'm not getting like speed wobble or anything like that. In terms of frame flex, it's feeling pretty solid. You know, as far as step-throughs go, this feels pretty it's not like, gosh, the other day I got off like the new Specialized Turbo Levo SLs. They're like super lightweight, super expensive bikes. They're awesome, and this has more weight than this. I mean, this does feel a little bit more like a commuter, but with that motor power, it feels pretty light and pretty powerful. I'm gonna try to find like a hill or something. Actually, I think we had one back there. And that throttle is variable speed, so I can be gentle with it. I can feather that throttle, and the bike's very responsive. I'm surprised how quiet this motor is. And maybe it's because of that like additional housing that we saw. We're not exactly in the mountains, but I found a little steep section. I wanted to descend it, so I've dropped my saddle a little bit, and then I was going to use the throttle just to, you know, see how it performs on an incline. And no, it's not the steepest thing in the world, but we should get some idea of how it handles that. On flats, it's been great, like no problem, lots of power. Here we go. Oh yeah. I wasn't expecting to do a stoppie with the step-through, but those brakes, they make it happen. Like, that was pretty impressive. I just wanted to do a close-up here. Cool. Oh boy. Yeah, as soon as you touch the brake levers, you get that override on the motor. Nice. So you don't really, as powerful as this is, both of these act as kill switches. So I like to show that. And I'm always thinking about like the safety ramifications, because you could easily, I think they have the Maxi Next seat that kind of clamps on here. So you might have your kids or something with you too. And yeah, I mean, you know, safety is important for sure. So 24 magnet cadence sensor, the multiple cutoffs, the shift detection. Let's actually try that. I think that would be pretty cool. Okay, so we can kind of, let's see, I don't have enough hands for this. Let's see here. Get the throttle going and then shift gears. Yeah, see how it just stops? That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a delay compared to, again, like the Bosch thing where it's shift detection, software driven. It doesn't even fully cut out. It just kind of softens it. This one fully cuts out, and again, that's probably going to save your drivetrain, but it's a little bit of a complete stop. It's like shifting a gear on a car or something like that, but totally worth having that. I would love to see one area they could maybe improve is if they had like a derailleur guard or something right there, just to kind of protect this a little bit better in case the bike did tip over. It looks like we do have like some disconnect points and stuff down here if you did have an issue. Hey guys, just a beautiful day out here on the trail. Okay guys, sometimes I get the request for like third person perspective. You can see what the bike looks like. So I got my seat like raised up just right, hit the kickstand, and let's do some riding. I'm in assist level 2 right now, and it feels pretty good. It's like 10 kilometers, maybe 12. Yeah, it really starts to take off, like once you get into, I'm in 5 now, of course, right? And then I'm gonna juice it with the throttle. That's feeling good. And just keep in mind that the drop is 17.5 versus 19. So if you're someone who's a little taller, or you just like a larger bike, that's a great upgrade option, and I think they pair really well that way. But you've still got that adjustable stem. There's still a lot of adjustability. Well guys, I think that's just about it. As usual, I've gone super in depth and gotten all the details and specs back at ElectricBikeReview.com. One of the guys walking by earlier, he was like, hey, DŌST, in our language that means friend, and I was reminded that indeed it does. That's what they were telling me. The guys at the company were like, this is kind of European inspiration, and we looked at different words, and we really thought about what an e-bike can be, and we thought, it's your friend. And I thought that was so cool. So again, we got the drop, we got the KOPE over there. There's a really cool comparison tool back at this site as well, so you can compare some of these specs, but I feel like they've just maxed everything out. And again, 2-year comprehensive warranty from this company. They're just rolling onto the scene and knocking it out of the park. I love you guys. Ride safe. We'll see you next time.